festival where President Akufo-Addo was billed to deliver a speech. Indeed, he delivered the speech, but there were pockets of heckling, and that has generated some controversy since then.
Us here of them in Central Park, New York, who is enjoying themselves more here in Blackstone School. God bless you. Yes, you know, Bagana.
I think it's scandalous. I think it's scandalous. I don't think as a nation we got into that stage. I mean, I was petrified when I heard it. The president was speaking. As soon as he opened his mouth, I heard, was it in unison? But if it's that small cabal, whatever it is, I mean, I was, let me repeat the word, petrified. Basically, they didn't understand. I haven't seen anything of this sort in Ghana before. We shouldn't start things which become precedent. You can't handle them. I have been very, very upset. I think it is unfair. We must be ashamed of ourselves. I don't think it is a proper development in our country. Too much shouting connotes an absence of intelligent thinking. Who doesn't know that times are hard? I mean, it's not debatable. It isn't democracy. It isn't right. There should be some respect, you know. When your mind one, they be a meka. Asambani as ye kwa kampa, ye say ye Kwaku hu abrewa. Yanka say ye go hu mono na mugu na muti aye ye say gube na mugu no. Yamoni ye say ye go hu mu, ye say ye Kwaku hu abrewa.
So you had some perspective from the Honorable MP for Adansi Asokwa K.T. Hammond, who said that the specific persons who did that should bow their heads in shame. So connecting with us on Ghana Connect on Joy FM this evening, Abuna Grant is a student journalist. Amtu Akunfi Ameyao is a youth leader and a social and gender advocate. Abdel Karim Ibrahim is a journalist and graduate student at the University of Ghana's Institute of African Studies. Amina Al-Hassan is a student at the Ghana Institute of Journalism. Felicity Nelson is with the Fix the Country movement. And then we have Isaac Reindorf Sechi, a political communicator. My friend Neo Kanta from here at Multimedia 2 will join us a bit. So these are the comments. Let me start off first by going on to the phones and taking Felicity Nelson. You heard there those chants from the venue. There are those who have said that these were just a few people doing that. But first off, what were your reaction? How did you feel when you heard that the president was booed on stage at that concert?
So first of all, I didn't hear that he was booed on stage. I was one of the people that booed at the president. I need to clarify that. I was actually at the concert. Yes.
Right.
So I engaged in that activity gladly.
Then for you, why did you do that?
Well, first of all, I think he's been underperforming. You know, our economy is in shambles, our health service is in shambles, educational service. Literally, the country is literally going to hell. And, you know, he's not taking any responsibility. He keeps, blaming the Ukraine-Russian war for everything. He's refusing to even accept that some of his appointees are incompetent. So for me, he's failing. He's failed, and he continues to fail as a president. So I was like, well, this is how many times am I going to see the president? So as soon as I saw him, the booing happened very organically. Like, as soon as he stepped out, people started booing straight away. And I booed him as well.
But Felicity, you would agree with me that your notion of underperformance of the president alone is not enough basis to hoot at the president of the republic.
Well, of course it is. Like you said, my notion, my perspective, right? So I'm going to determine what I think. If I think he's incompetent and I think he deserves to be booed at, I'm going to boo at him. It's all part of living in a democracy. You don't just vote 4 years and then you sit down and wait to vote again. If you're unhappy, you can protest. And booing seeing him and hooting at him is actually a form of protest.
Right.
We're showing that we're unhappy. And the look of shock on his face, you could tell from his demeanor that he was very uncomfortable and he looks quite surprised. So it's obvious that he doesn't know what's happening on the ground. He doesn't understand. He's not in touch with the people. The people around him are not telling him how Ghanaians are really feeling. So for us as young people, I feel like a lot of young people there, that was the one time that we felt their voices could be heard. And for the last week, the fact that we're even sitting here having this conversation now, talking about this, it means we've made a statement.
Right. So let me go on Zoom and go to Abdul Karim. And I mean, since this happened, I've been trying to get exactly what the general population feel about it. It's been kind of a mixed reaction if you go on Twitter and social media. While there are those who support this action, there are those who have said that, well, we could have done something else. Karim, what are your views on the persons who decided to do this? Do you think they were justified?
Hello, Kwaku. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Karim.
Very well. Thank you very much, and good evening to you and to everybody. Yes, I think that I would just extend some of the issues that Felicity Nelson has been talking about. And for me, there is a particular distinction here that is very important, because we must look at the population that we are talking about here. This is your not your average Ghanaian grouping in that sense, because if you look at the kind of event that we are talking about here and what happened at the event also, what you would notice very clearly is that this is a population of your average middle class Ghanaians, people who are oftentimes very uninterested in our politics and what happens there and all of that. If those people find themselves at an event and they are able to so organically demonstrate the way that they did there, I think that there could never be a better opportunity or platform for one to fully appreciate what the general sentiments of the population in the country really is at this moment. And for me, it would be very good for the president and his political party to pay attention to that and not continue to gaslight the good people of the country and pussyfoot around this particular problem and create this impression that somehow it was an orchestrated act by some other people, political opponents or anything like that. It cannot be further from the truth. They will continue to
but
be
Karim, knowing how our
blind to the
politics works,
reality.
could it not have been? Is that not a plausible explanation of what happened? Because, I mean, there are people like Marco Krekumante who have said that they were at the venue. And from where they were, they did not hear anything. It was 2 days after or the day after that they saw that something like that happened. So it probably just a group of people, small group of people who did that.
Yes, I actually think so, because if you look at the number of people that we saw at the event and just simply basing it on the sound that we heard, I could agree that perhaps not even the majority booed him. But then so what? Because the majority obviously will not have done anything special then. There's a reason we are talking about this. And the argument made by the likes of Marco Krekumante and the rest, it doesn't actually go in their favor. Because the reality is that we are having this conversation because even if it were 10 people who did that, they've been able to center this conversation in a way that allows us to all come back and reflect on the president and the presidency. And again, the attempts to also run away from it clearly betrays the inconsistency in the logic that they are displaying, that somehow this is just a handful of people who are completely irrelevant, who are immaterial. But then they're doing everything to deflect the attention, to even rebut the presumptions in there and all of that. And that for me, clearly, it's pretty testament. If you are going to continue to be obtuse about a problem that people are complaining about and all of that, well, at the end of the day, we will see. And tomorrow, it will not just be here. We're going to have even perhaps better platforms, more bigger platforms, and the president is going to be continue to be good in that respect. And after everything, the shame will come. And it was standing on his face. So if after everything, someone is going to come and deny that it was just a handful and say all manner of things, that's fine. The president has dealt with that humiliation and shame, and he's walked away, I'm sure, feeling very bad about that. And today, all of them have found it their duty and responsibility as party communicators and many others like that, and even moralizers. I've heard so many people, including our very own Katie Hammond, say all manner of things. things. But I mean, for him, when he said it, that I wasn't so perturbed. I thought that he was obviously classical KT Hammond. He was playing, because I got the sense that he's literally saying something as we know it in Chi, that I heard it, because if you look at him as he talks about some people's head being like coconut and all of that, I could guess that he was just joking by simply looking at him.
Right. So let me go to Amina. Amina is a student with the Ghana Institute of Journalism. Amina, were you there yourself? Were you there? Hello, Amina.
Yeah, hello, good.
Yeah,
Good
Amina,
evening. I wasn't.
were you okay?
No, personally, I wasn't there. But then, a friend who was there posted it, and I saw it. So after seeing it, I asked her if that really happened, and she was like, "Yeah, it's really happened." And I was like, I had a mixed feeling because I didn't know how to react. It's something I felt wasn't correct because he's an elderly person, so he deserves the respect. And then he's also our president. But then again, if you think about how hungry and then angry people are, you can't even really fault them because we are angry, but then we keep on hearing stories about Russia and Ukraine having to take the blame for what's happening. Meanwhile, even Ukraine is doing better. So I kind of felt what the youth felt because I'm a youth myself and I kind of feel the heat myself. So I think it in a way wasn't right, but then it's right because he needed to know how we feel. We can't always be like it can't always be like the emperor. We can't really tell him what's happening. A young kid has to tell him what's really happening.
Let me go to Amtu, and Amtu is a youth activist. This is someone I know personally, and I think she's doing some great stuff. But Amtu, personally, you felt, I mean, do you feel the same way, I should say, like Amina does, that one, this was disrespectful, but was probably deserved?
Very well, thank you. Good evening, Asante, and good evening to your listeners. I am very sorry.
Hello, Amtu.
Hi.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, right. So it's raining here, so it might be a little shaky.
I understand.
So I think should I say I'm coming from both or everyone's perspective, especially because of the kind of cultural setting that we have. Um, at some points you feel like, oh my God, that's like a very global stage. Is this the point where we want to perhaps wash our dirty linens or have this kind of discourse? But then also we are taught or made to understand from studies in politics that citizens would use any means to show what their frustration is. I do not dispute the fact that maybe some advances have been made, and indeed times have gotten hard. But I think I'm on both sides. Personally, I was working at a booth that was like towards the end of the place. So I'm not even going to lie if I tell you that like I didn't hear it, right? But then I had colleagues who were done with their shift and were inside who actually like heard that. So yes, it might come from like a section of people, but the thing is, every single person is casting their vote, so every single person has a right to express what they feel like, even if it's like one person out of 1,000. If the person's vote is going to be counted, then that person also has a right to as it were, express what they believe in or what their dissatisfaction is. And like Felicity rightly said earlier, a lot of these people would never have the opportunity to, as it were, have like a face-to-face interaction with the president. And this is probably the only way that they believe they can actually express themselves without being, as it were, suppressed. So I'm from both points. I didn't think it was like a nice thing for us to like show everybody that, oh, like we have some issues or something like that. But at the end, I mean, like having this conversation, I believe arrives at what the youth want to see. Because the youth want to see that indeed conversations or actions are being taken. So if this conversation is happening, then it means that somebody actually heard whoever or whichever grouping of people are distressed, and indeed did that, I believe have achieved a lot of results. And that's something to write home about, because the youth, I want to see results. So.
I mean, people want to see results. And so this is a good point to bring in Isaac Sechi. Isaac Sechi speaks for the NPP in the Krowo constituency. Isaac, I mean, you are a New Patriotic Party supporter. You actually are an executive in a constituency. I mean, does this send you any action? Does this send you any message at all? When you heard of it, from the political perspective, what did you make of it? Hello, Isaac. Isaac, can you unmute?
Kwaku, just before Isaac speaks.
First off, hello.
Okay,
Isaac, I'll come back to you. You want to say something?
Okay.
Just before Isaac speaks, I think it's also should I say, a way for government to actually take opinion. So then a lot more of decentralized things should be done. So seek actual opinion from the young people, because I think Abdul Karim rightly said that the people at the gathering were not your average Ghanaian people. So use their mediums, use their TikTok, use their Twitter, engage them, know what their problem is, and try.
Right. I'm to that's very clear. And then, so Isaac, I mean, like I was asking you from the political standpoint, how did you feel about this?
All right. Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. Good evening, and good evening to our co-panelists. I've heard what have been discussed, and I'm sad. And honestly, not because I'm an MPP member, but I'm sad because of the platform that we chose to have this discussion done. What was it about? It was about a concert, and the concert was for a particular effect, and the effect is a global one. I will not have any problem if the president is having an assembly and you go there and you show your position through that. I have no problem. But for you to take this platform and for you to do...
Hello, Isaac. Well, it appears Isaac's connection is a bit breaking there for me. So, Isaac, we'll come back to you when we do. But, I mean, I'll come back around again. But I just want to say that there's a conversation. Whenever someone says something that you want to chip in, you can always do so. I'll come to New York again. But it's a good point to go back to Felicity Nelson to ask. Listen, Felicity, these are the questions people have asked. I mean, looking at this, one other central theme that have come up having to do with respect. I mean, the people who did that, including yourself, could have chosen any other means to express their frustration against whatever they thought was happening in the country they were not happy about. I haven't asked you first and foremost why you did that. Had it got to do anything with the economy, or how you felt the president was relating to the war in Ukraine and how he was blaming things on that. But could we not have chosen any other means, like people have said, including KT Amon, including other people, including Professor Jampo of the University of Ghana Political Science Department, who say that there must be some sort of respect. And so we could have used other means to express our discomfort, to express our disagreements, other than booing the President of the Republic away from stage.
Okay. I completely disagree with that notion. And for a long time, culturally, what we do is we use these words like respect, or the adult is always right. We use those things to silence people. We use it to silence people, and people are not allowed to, especially young people. We have institutionalized, our culture has institutionalized ageism, where the voices of young people don't matter. What young people think doesn't matter. There's never a right time for a young person to speak. And if you listen to what Katie Hammond even said, he said, if you could be sorry, you, the people that were booing, you young people, do you understand? So the voices of young people don't matter. They don't matter. How many young people hold political office? How many young people are in positions to effect change? So the reality, so this idea of, you have to choose the right forum. Where would we meet? Where is the right forum? How many times are we consulted? And even after booing, if you listen to even things like Katie Hammond is saying, and even other like MPP communicators kind of saying stuff like, oh, the people that booed were paid by the NDC, completely never thinking, okay, why did you boo? What's the problem? What's the issue? How do we solve it? But as opposed to like telling us that the booing was the wrong place, and what's the right place? I don't know if you remember when they refused to open UGMC, and the guy had a placard that said open UGMC or whatever. Do you remember how he was handled by the security officials? Even though it was Rebecca doing a speech and he went to do that, he just held up a placard and walked across. That's all he did. So this very idea that, oh, there's another forum. Where is this forum? We know that when young people go out to protest, some of them are being killed, some of them are being shot. So sometimes you want to go on a protest, the police are not even giving you permission. So when you tell me, oh, there's other forums, like you're not being honest, you're not being genuine. Like if you live in Ghana, you know that young people are not listened to. Nobody cares about what young people have to say, and it's obvious when you look across the ministers. How old is the average minister? How old is the average MP?
I mean, very, very interesting point there from Felicity, and Felicity will live along the line. But I mean, Abina Grant is a student journalist with Radio Universe on campus. Abina, what do you stand on this respect argument, whether or not the conduct was respectful at all? Hello, Abna. Okay, so I don't have Abna yet. I'll go back to Abna. Abdul Karim, you in the introduction that you made early on raised some concerns about the comments from KT Amon. And we played that sound from KT Amon, who said that it was completely disrespectful. It was shameful that some people chose to do that to the president when he was speaking to an international community. We know that the concert was happening simultaneously in the United States as well. And Nancy Pelosi also went to a live audience, had her share of that. I mean, how do you contrast the two situations and the argument of respect that have been made here in Ghana?
Well, do you know what is more disrespectful? It is when people in a relatively very poor country, where a lot of people are living below the poverty line, many of them unable to get hospitals to attend, when their leaders get sick and they are transferred somewhere abroad to get the best medical treatment. People whom at the period where they are struggling economically, among many other things, the president lives like an emperor. He travels all over the world for whatever business, including going to see
This is just unfair. You see what we do to ourselves.
So
we keep shifting.
Isaac, I'll come to you. Isaac, I'll come to you shortly so that you respond to the comments that Karim is making. But for now, let's allow Karim land on the point, and then you can come in, Isaac. Karim, so you can make your point.
Okay, so this is the conversation.
Isaac, I'll come to you, and I'll give you the time to respond specifically to the issues Karim has raised. So can you allow him now make the point, and then you can come in later. So Karim, please make your point.
Thank you. And Isaac, you would behave yourself and allow the moderator to do his job.
So Karim, make the point.
Don't use words like.
Well. So there seem to be some issue there, but I mean, Karim and then Isaac, let's calm down on that point. Let Karim make the point, and then Isaac, you can come in and respond to the substantive issue. So Karim, please get to the substance of your point, and then I'll go to Isaac.
So start of the point is that when people misbehave, we should not go and hide in the room and tell them. And that's what the people at the Independence Square told the President of the Republic. And that's why I was making the point earlier that what is more disrespectful is all of the things that I've outlined and even more, the inequality that exists among many other things. But those things don't appear to generate from us and evoke the same sentiments and passion and anger like some of these things are doing. And so you have heard a lot of people come running, very moralizing arguments about how somehow it is the presidency, somehow it's an elderly man. And for that matter, people cannot vent their spleen. What about all the other people who are out there and who have suffered simply because they have not gotten the leadership that they deserve, right? And so the fact that this is streaming across the world, and so everybody else is going to see it and all of that, and so what? And if anything at all, for all of us who are very serious people, we should view this as an endorsement or a further opening of our own democracy, because it shows, among other things, the maturity of what we are doing. And this impression that somehow we have done something that has never been done before is completely nonsensical.
But Karim, the point they raise is context based. They raise the context about the African continent. First off, we do things in a certain light, right? And then they also say that if you have concerns with the president, you could have expressed them in other means. You could have waited till 2024. You will show that this is how angry you are, the president. You could go on the street, but to specifically choose the method of booing the president whilst he was on stage, they've said that that is not the way we do our things here, and that is what they're angry about.
That's not the way who does what, because I wonder which Africa these people are talking about, right? It is also embedded very strongly and firmly in African values and African traditional systems, the act of rebellion. When we say in a camp, and I can speak to you, when they say in Tesukoko, what do people think it means? If it didn't have a cultural value in our environment, in our society, there would not be any expression like that for it. By the very existence of the notion or the phenomenon of intesukoko, it means that at some point you can vent your spleen. And why is this also a point that people make all the time about why not wait for the next election? Why must we always wait for the next election? So that between the point where you elect someone and the next election, they can go all over. And for the purpose of this conversation, I want to even be more provocative. Screw everybody every single time. Is that what we want? So for me, we need to demonstrate that as a people, we're interested in getting our problems resolved. Our president is one very quick to respond to Notre Dame's fire situation. He's very quick to respond to George Floyd, but he's not so quick to respond to Eric Ofochu in Ashaman, who was killed. He's not so quick to respond to the 8 people who died following our elections. He's not quick to respond to constitutional issues that have not allowed a group of people in this country to have representation in the parliament. He doesn't respond to all of that. What we are interested in, and some are inviting us to do, is to come and join this theater where the president, anytime he mounts the international platform, cuts a certain figure of this most progressive African leader and all of that, but back home, all of you are struggling and you are in pain and you are crying and all of that. Is that what you want? And so if it is insult, if it is booing, that would generate the necessary conversation and to drive home the point that people are not happy, so be it. Every other thing that people say that, what about another alternative? So we should do what? Go see them in the bedroom and appeal to the president that, hello, sir, we're not very happy how you are going about things and all of that. How many people have even access? And for me, look at this within the context of democracy, because what happened there is access. How many people have access to the president? So if you also have something to tell the president, how do they imagine that you will do that? And again, it is not everybody that goes to political rallies. So it doesn't matter whether it is an entertainment platform. It doesn't matter whether we are playing football. It has happened before actually in the US, right? Because in 1931, a US president was booed. And even for them, it was for a more trivial thing. They said they wanted more beer and they were not getting more beer. They booed him. So we are going to run around and sometimes refer to the United States, the United Kingdom, and other places as so-called developed democracies, advanced democracies, and we must look up to them and all of that. All of a sudden, when we vent in a way that doesn't get the political elite very happy, somehow we have done something wrong, something un-African. Completely nonsense.
Right. So, I mean, Karim clearly has some very strong words there. He does not think that the respect argument is founded. So, good point to bring my friend Isaac Sech. Isaac, you clearly do not agree with the points Karim have raised, but he raised some substantive points, doesn't he?
Kwaku, absolutely scandalized. And I think he is an NDC communicator, communicating much more at that.
No, I know Karim. He's not an NDC communicator.
He's an NDC communicator. He's an NDC communicator. There should be nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, but he's not. He's not.
There is nothing wrong with that. You are an NDC communicator. Just behave yourself and listen to me.
Right. So,
Kwaku, you know something? The youth are bringing communication to themselves. And the communication the youth are bringing to themselves is, without disrespect, we cannot put our issues across. And that is what everybody is saying. That is what I'm hearing. That we can put our issues across. And even if it is through disrespect, we are okay. So far as the issues are getting to our target, it is okay. Now, let me move away from what they have all said. And I will say something. Look, booing of the president, heckling the president. What was the gain? The gain was just for us to move away from the substantive issues and to discuss this. Because since Saturday, since Sunday, this is what has been discussed. We have not discussed the importance and the point at which this concert was held. We have not discussed what the benefit was for this country in bringing this concert here in Ghana. We have not discussed anything. The only thing we are discussing is about heckling. And we are bringing in the youth and tie in the fact that the only way for us to be heard is through disrespect. What Katie Amon said, I don't agree with the things that some of the things that Katie Amon said, but largely I agree with Katie Amon. What Katie Amon is saying is that this is a precedent we are setting. And when we are not careful, we will not be able to handle this precedent. Look, whatever we are doing is a precedent, and somebody else is also marking time. And whether we like it or not, this president will not be on forever. This president will leave. Now, for somebody to come and then say that we are in hard times and that the president is behaving as if we are not in hard times, Kwaku, who has not conceded that we are in hard times? Who can run away from the fact that we are in hard times? I'm a freight forwarder. Please get to the port, and I'll tell you what sugar was being sold before even COVID per metric ton, and what sugar is being sold now per metric ton. So everybody knows, and we cannot run away. Why are we running away from the fact that it is because of COVID? It is because of the Ukraine-Russia war that has brought us to this stage.
But that's some of the things people do not want to hear. They are saying that the signals were on the world that we clearly were mismanaging our economy, and that government must do something and not blame Russia, Ukraine, and COVID.
Kwaku, that is what they are saying. Are we saying that we know we have better books on Ghana than IMF? Are we saying that? Is Karim and the rest saying that they have better appreciation of what is happening in Ghana than the IMF? What did the IMF say? They wanted the IMF to sing their song, and IMF did not sing their song. The IMF
other countries who are in similar situations like ourselves, the inflation rate is not the same. It's because of mismanagement. At what point are you going to accept?
It is never about mismanagement. IMF never, please, can I be allowed? IMF never in the 4 points that they issued made any statement about mismanagement. Never. So why are we bringing in our own? We wanted the IMF to sing the song of the NDC. The IMF sang the song of intellectual, and we are against it. Now, Kwaku, whatever has happened has happened.
Yeah.
The president knows that the situation is not normal, and the president has said it several times again. What the president is going to do is to still work to bring things at normalcy. What the president's interest is bringing inflation down, is making sure that our exchange rate is at an appreciable level. It's making sure that trade goes on. It's making sure that things are minimized, the hardship is minimized until things get normal at the international market. So please, whatever booing, whatever heckling was done has been done. The most important thing is the lessons the president is going to learn from it and the decision the party is going to take. The president is not wishing away what happened. The president knows that it is not everybody who is happy. The president knows that there is hardship, and the president has said this several. Now, you can even look at the points that the finance minister just raised, I think, 3 days ago. We know, we appreciate that there is difficulty, but we are telling you that this government has managed this difficulty
far better than others who would have done, like the point you make it. So Felicity, good point to bring you in. There's the respect-disrespect junction, but he makes the point that, listen, the president clearly admits that we are in a time of challenges. He's working to fix it, so give him time.
And so even moving on apart from economic factors, right? The president was on that platform speaking about protecting the environment, and I found that very interesting, considering the fact that when you look at the kind of damage that Galamsey is causing under his tenure, and the clear lack of political will to address that issue, I just found it very hypocritical for him to stand on a platform like that. So when Isaac talks about what are the issues we were trying to address, that was one of the issues. How dare the president come and stand on that platform and talk about protecting the environment when the environment is being destroyed at alarming rates? I'm sure this week you've been following the news and you've seen what the water in the River Pra looks like. What is being done, the real work that's being done to address the issue, how farmers are selling their lands to mining and people who are doing galamsey simply because they're not making enough from farming. We're not. These are the issues that are not being addressed. So when you talk about the IMF didn't say this, the IMF didn't say that. What has he done? He is failing to address galamsey. Our environment is being destroyed. So how dare he mount a global platform and talk about protecting the environment when he has failed to do that in the last 6 years?
Right. I mean, Neo Kanta, where do you stand on this argument?
Let me begin with the gentleman who spoke before Felicity. It is Kwaku, forgive my language, but it is insulting. It's insulting for them to always shift the goalpost and always try to tag people with party colors and other things. The moment you open your mouth to criticize this government, then you are tagged as an opposition person. It's quite unfortunate and insulting. For how long are we going to go on this tangent? Rather than attacking the issues that the people are raising, we try to discredit those who are raising the issues by saying, you are saying this because you are an NDC person, you are saying this because you are an anti-Akufo-Addo person. The president is not getting to understand the real issues on the ground because he's surrounded by people who are singing praises. He's more or less like the naked king. To him, he's working. To him, he has people who are doing the job. But the reality on the ground is that he's a naked king. Wada Nasoni Naingwa Bonting. They are not telling him the real truth. You go on a stage like this to talk about climate change. What is happening to Atiwa Forest? What are we seeing with Galamsey? And you stand there and say what? And you expect people to what? Applaud you? Are we serious in this country?
So I mean, very interesting thoughts there from my good friend Neo Kanta. Let me go to Abna Grant. Abna, so far people have strongly made the point for respect. There are those who have said that, listen, please put respect somewhere. There are real issues we are dealing with. There are real issues with the environment. There are real issues with the economy. There are real issues with people's pockets that we can deal with without having to sound too respectful or any other thing like that. I mean, what are your views on that? Is Abna Grant on? Let me throw that to you. If you can hear me. Hello.
Personally, I still have a problem with us this saying anything, especially this booing thing has actually paved way for many insults online. Some people are calling the president unprintable words, and I still believe it's not the right thing to do. I don't feel okay with us insulting the president to some extent, but then I feel with the
if you are saying this is not the right forum for this thing, when is the appropriate time? Where are we supposed to vent when you go on
when you look at it in another light, it's actually
are you saying that
the
those people
only
who
way
heckled
we could have
the former president
communicated that message
when he went for international events? Are you saying that what they did was okay? Is that a signal you are sending?
Please come again.
He's asking what is the better platform? Because in Parliament, for instance, the President delivers the State of the Nation address, Finance Minister, they deliver budget. Members of Parliament, they heckle them, they hoot at them, they sing songs, they do a lot of things. And it's not much of an issue. So he's saying, what is the issue with the youth who probably are feeling the brunt of the hardship? Decide that this is what we want to do.
Yes, I'm actually very conflicted when it comes to the booing because personally I felt it wasn't right, but then also I felt it was the only way we could have communicated our grievances to him because it seems he doesn't really know the magnitude of whatever we are going through. It's like he lives in a world of his own in a way because he can't really relate to us when it comes to many things.
Very interesting points there. Let me bring it down to you've been silent for a while now, whilst the argument has shifted from respect to the hardship in the economy. The president admitting that times are hard, but saying that we are working to fix it and all that. I want to know where you stand on that. Hello, Amtu.
Hello. I'm so sorry. I didn't get. Thank you. I didn't get like the beginning part of what you said because there was
Yeah.
a lot
So
of
so
noise.
so I was making the point about where this debate has been shifting from. We started from a position of whether or not the conduct was respectful, and you heard there from Karim. Listen, he says that whether it was respectful or not respectful is not the issue, and that the presidency or government and its communicators must recognize at the heart of the concerns of the people and try to fix it instead of shifting the things to respect or what is not respectful. I mean, what I want to know from you is, I mean, what should government be learning from this? What should government be doing about this? Because this is clearly a feedback that has come from the people to him.
Right. So Kwaku, before I ended my first submission, I actually asked for permission to speak again, and I rightly said that some of the things governments should be learning or noticing is some better. And then some of the best ways to be able to, should I say, access these things aside public gatherings like this is to use the mediums by which youth or citizens of the country are expressing their displeasure, like their own social media. So I'm saying their own because, should I say, a lot of the times older people feel as though younger people own social media. So use their mediums to access what their displeasure is and actually find ways of, should I say, practically like helping to solve it. I think earlier the conversation was shifted a lot more from the action to some of the things. As an individual, I'm not too pleased with ongoing galamsey. Should I say, especially when I watched the video from the old man saying that, I mean, planting for food and jobs, he wasn't contacted. So, I mean, he has the sole right. I feel that, how should I say, as citizens, in as much as we are going through a loss, we also have to like consider it for ourselves. So if it's not even for me, for like my children, for my family, because regardless of what government's mistakes or whatever it is, you as an individual are going to face like the direct impacts of whatever your actions are.
Of whatever the impact is on the people. I mean, very interesting thoughts. We'll go on social media shortly. The comments are buzzing in. We want to take your perspectives on this. For those of you who are not joining us on phone, on Zoom, or joining us in studio for this conversation.
On that. I think it's scandalous. I think it's scandalous. I don't think as a nation we got into that stage. I mean, I was petrified when I heard it. The president was speaking as soon as he opened his mouth. I heard, was it in unison? But if it's that small cabal, whatever it is, I mean, I was, let me repeat the word, petrified. Basically, they didn't understand. I haven't seen anything of this sort in Ghana before. We shouldn't start things which become precedent. You can't handle them. You let the genie out of the bottle, completely difficult to get our lives together. I have been very, very upset. I haven't seen anything like this before. Even on political platforms, we don't do these things. We don't. I mean, so to imagine that on the national platform like this, a president mounts a platform, and all he said, I think he said in Chi, that the whole of the world or the whole of it's here, and then people start shouting at him. I think it is unfair. We must be ashamed of ourselves. I don't think it is a proper development in our country. Too much shouting connotes an absence of intelligent thinking. So, you know, we're always shouting and shouting. You're not thinking. You know what I mean? You're not thinking. No, you join the president. Who doesn't know that times are hard? I mean, it's not debatable. We all accept that times are hard. Look, yesterday I was asking the system. I was asking, okay, look, this whole thing. Somebody say Yakwakapa, yeah, say Yakwaku Abrewa. Yanka say Yako Mono Muguana Muti, I say Kubeda Muguano. Yamon Yazi Yako Humo, Yazi Yakwaku Abrewa. Abrewano a penny.
Join us now on Twitter, #Ghana Connect Live, Facebook, Joy 99.7 FM, or send us a WhatsApp on 0244
So, I mean, you heard the KTM. Let me take some views from Facebook and Twitter, and then I'll come back in studio here and wrap up the conversation. We had a poll on Twitter. The question was, were patrons of the Global Citizens justified in booing President Akufo-Addo? And does that show disapproval of his governance? We had a yes or no option. Well, so far, 84% on the Joy FM Twitter page say, well, yes, the people were justified, patrons were justified in booing the president, and this shows that they are displeased with his governance. 84%, with 16% saying that, well, no, that was not justified. Very interesting perspectives there. I mean, let me also take the some of the comments that people have been posting under the post we made. There are those who are saying that, listen, Fighter says the president has completely mismanaged the economy. If I were him, I would step aside. Yeboah Esuama Felix says that, well, I think that people should have chosen a different way. I mean, this comment isn't very clear. Johnson says that, well, the president deserved exactly what he got. So, I mean, there are a lot of comments coming in also on Facebook. Let me try and see what people have been saying under our live stream there. Let me take the first one. This one says that, well, you'll be more than petrified. I mean, he's reacting to KT Amon. Says, wicked, myopic leaders who are destroying everything we have for our next generation. This one says, this is no precedent. It happened to Dr. Buzia shortly before he uses the word. Anytime he passed in front of Kanishi Market, women booed him. This one says, although I don't condone people booing the president, I think it's simply the law of karma working. What didn't NPP people do to John Mahama, both in the UK and at Menchia? They only did what they have been exposed to do. Nana Kwame Mensah Bonsusheka says, I have for trust, so NDC should provide alternatives to solve Ghana's challenges rather than desperation to just come to power and loot again. Empty alternative to the NPP. So these are some of the comments that have been coming in. Abna Grant, I'm expecting Abna Grant, but every time I go to her, she does not seem to be on. Abna, if you're on, we have about 7 minutes to wrap up. What lessons do you think this should send to government ahead of a crucial election in 2024? That is the political angle, but also the angle relating to governance in terms of picking this feedback from the people, from what they make of the governance of the country. Abna Grant. Hello, Abna. Okay, I don't seem to have Abna there. Let me go to Isaac. Isaac, I mean, you clearly admit that times are hard. You say you are afraid for whether the prices of goods and services are at a very, very high point. What message do you think this should send to your party and your government? You know, 2024 is just around the corner, but there are also very weighty and important matters of governance.
Yeah, Kwaku, nobody in the party is taking this as a fluke. Even if it is two people booing at the president or heckling the president, they have their views and they have every right to do that. And me, I don't have anything. I think it's a precedent that had been set. And today, those of us who are defending it, tomorrow when it happens, we also have to defend it. That is all I'm saying. But I'm saying that the president knows that even if it is one person, one vote counts, and that it is important that he works to make sure that everybody, and not entirely everybody will be happy, but that a large chunk of the people will be happy. Now, let me go to the Galamsey issues. Kwaku, let's all be honest. Maybe the effect or the results that we want from the Galamsey fight, we haven't gotten it. But no president has really put in effort to end Galamsey like this president. And Kwaku, know something, it becomes very difficult when there's a fight against any negative and it is being fought at the central, at the head. Kwaku, have you heard about the community, any community where Galamsey is being done, the community organizing themselves against those who are doing the Galamsey? No, you will not find that. So it means that the communities themselves are for the Galamsey. So it is difficult when the president is fighting it at the central level. But at the end of it, the president is doing his bit to fight the Galamsey issue, because we can never run away from the menace Galamsey issue is creating in this country.
Right. I mean, right. Very important point there. Neo Kanta, you're wrapping up points before we just end the show.
The Galamsey.
What happened at the Independence Square?
Ghana Water is complaining.
Isaac, let Okanta speak now.
What happened at the Independence Square should send a clear signal to the government that times are hard. I don't want to use the word ordinary Ghanaian, but the ordinary Ghanaian is feeling the pinch of what is happening. and they need to take some emergency steps into solving all the issues that the people are raising. That's what I'll say.
Right. Interesting perspective there. Amtu, finally, your closing thoughts. Amtu.
Right. So I would like to say that I believe this is should I say a wake-up call for the country. I also believe that should I say it's some advancements in our democracy, because at this point people actually are embracing, because maybe in other spaces across the continent, if it was a coup, it would have been followed by some chaos or whatever it is. So this also put our maturity and our advancements. Also, I believe that governments would be taking cue from this and hopefully would be addressing our problems a lot more. For me as an individual, I wanted to hear some specific things at the Global Citizen event, especially on actions, but I didn't hear that. And I'm hoping that in times ahead, communicators would, should I say, would communicate things that we as young people want to hear.
Right.
Yes. Not just communicate about, like, let's should I say, let's see that is happening first from what you're telling us.
Right. I mean, very, very interesting there. We should see action. You can say that we are doing this, we are doing that, we want to do this, but action is clearly needed. Felicity, what message should this send to government as feedback from the people?
I think that it sends a clear message that people are unhappy. We're not happy with how we're being governed, and it's about time they stop making excuses and actually fix the country.
Karim, let me wrap up with you. Karim.
Yeah. So for me, I think that this is a demonstration of a certain awakening of the masses of this country, and that is good enough. The work that the likes of Felicity, Nana Nelson, and Bakaboma and others are doing with Fix the Country is all part of this. So if we are going to continuously see such spontaneous reaction to impudence, to intransigence, to bad governance, and all of that, I think that it will put people on their toes. And if people are so bothered about international media, they will do very well to fix the problems at home, so that on any occasion when they are put on an international platform, they're not going to be disgraced by their own citizens.
Right. I mean, very interesting perspective shared by all of you, my guests. Isaac Sechi, you seem to have wanted to say a bit more, but we've just run out of time. I'm very grateful to all of you who made time to join us on Ghana Connect today. We had Isaac Sechi, is a political communicator with the New Patriotic Party. We had Abdul Karim Brahim, you just heard him there. We had Amina, a student of the Ghana Institute of Journalism. We also had on Amtu, is a former USAG executive, but she is also a political activist and a youth activist as well. We had from Felicity Nelson from the Fix the Country movement. Abner Grant was expected to be on, but we just could not hear from them. So for you also who joined on social media to share your perspectives, thank you very much. I mean, this is a conversation that will keep happening. I mean, especially during the times we are living in. IMF officials are in town negotiating a deal. Where do you stand on all of these issues? Very, very important bread and butter issues, as well as feedback governance issues to the presidency as well. I mean, thank you very much for joining us on the show. My name is Kwaku Asante. We'll come your way again next week for another exciting edition of Ghana Connect. Thank you.